No, I think some of these issues that are coming out about Wales and Welsh students are really important. And I know ALs have seen, or some ALs in certain faculties have seen a lot of pressure about retention. But a lot of your work is about gaining wider access, you know, dealing with access students and attracting those into higher education. How do you think there's a conflict between retention and progression and recruiting wider access students?
Well, okay. So, hi everyone. Hi, I'm Hannah. I'm one of the 3 assistant directors based in the Cardiff office, and I'm responsible for widening access. And it's an incredibly important question around retention. And the way that I view widening access is that it's not simply recruitment into the university, but it's also the journey through the university and success coming out, and actually what happened to that individual, you know, down the line, a year after graduation, 2 years, 10 years down the line. And actually, if we want to have successful widening access, you have to include that entire journey. So I don't see that retention is in conflict in widening access. I see that retention is very at the heart and at the core and at the success of widening access. So it's 2 sides of the same coin. Now, it's a difficult area for us, and we need to improve, and you know, we need to be better at it. But it's one of the reasons it's so hard is because we do widen access in a meaningful way. And not every institution, not every university can say that. In fact, I think we're one of the few universities who can actually say that we do it in a meaningful way. So it's a problem and it's a challenge, but I think actually it should be a source of pride as well, that we're doing, that widening access is part of our DNA with our open entry and our philosophical approach. But actually, as a whole institution, we all have a responsibility to retention and to wider success around widening access. And I hope that as we move forward, as we continue to address the issue of retention, and there's a project being led by a fellow assistant director in Wales, Simon Horrocks, specifically around retention and disabled students. As we're doing these different initiatives, it's as a collective and as a wider group that we take these forward and are successful at them. And it's not the responsibility simply of associate lecturers.
Thank you. Does anyone have... Oh, yes.
Well, I've seen... I teach level 1 modules, and increasingly I've seen numbers of students come through who have a small administrative error with the student finance bodies. And then it's not possible to sort it out quickly. The student gets deregistered by the university. It's nothing that they've done wrong. There's been an error made by the student finance body. They get deregistered, and then it becomes very difficult to get them back on the system. Because of the technological, the online way in which modules are increasingly delivered, for a month or 6 weeks, a student can be offline, can be off the module and unable to access any of the most of the materials. All they've got is the textbook. They can't submit their assignments. I have to work my butt off to get some sort of material. Sometimes I've done screenshots of online materials, emailed them to students to keep them on board. But worst of all, the students suffer a terrible lack of confidence. And, I just feel, I know that there's a legal reason why the student has to be deregistered, but I think it is an issue that really needs looking at, because it is badly affecting retention in those level 1 modules where it's most important that students get a good experience and get confidence as students and can stay on not just for the module, but for the whole of their degree programme.
I'm going to refer that one to B, who is standing at the back.
As soon as they let us know, we can get them back on the course. And we are always trying to bring them up.
And I do agree that it's in their most vulnerable time at the university. Yeah, but the most vulnerable time is their entrance, their first course, and this is the only one it happens on. Which is irritating. So I think it's a very well-made point.
It happens to the most vulnerable.
It does. I totally agree.
The ones who are having to claim the fee support.
Yeah. Does anyone else have another question about anything? I'm opening the floor to anything now. Oh, yes. I don't know your name. Can you tell us your name?
I'm Claire.
Okay, Claire.
And I'm here with sort of 2 hats on, because I'm an AL, but I'm part-time as well. So,
Okay.
The question's a nice short and specific one, which goes back to something that was said in the very beginning about feedback questionnaires and how sometimes the questions don't always get the fullest responses from the students. From a pedagogic point of view, it never makes a great deal of sense to me that we only get feedback at the end of the course. Because we can't feed forward, we can't do anything with that for that student cohort. So I'm just wondering if there's any mechanism at all for consulting students like halfway through the module and having them give us a sense of what we can do differently or better in situ rather than after the fact.
Short answer is yes. I was at a meeting only yesterday with a really large group of people, which always concerns me when there's an awful lot of people sitting around a table to discuss a particular issue around SEAM, but they're also taking on sort of a wider student survey perspective. But they were looking specifically at SEAM yesterday, and exactly that issue came up, that perhaps we shouldn't just be looking at this anyway as a module by module kind of survey, and this should be maybe more of a qualification feedback mechanism and opportunity, and timing of that survey and the timing of asking the questions, the number of questions that are being asked. I mean, you will probably remember the DALS survey as was, and the end of module survey, that were two separate beasts that then were brought together to create this SEAM survey. And I think we need to do an awful lot more work around exactly as you're saying, the timing, the number of questions, how many students we sample. Do we ask every single student every single time? Do they get some sort of survey lethargy around that and think actually another survey from the OU, no thank you, in which case we lose out? The whole host of issues, and there's this new group that's just literally launched, first meeting yesterday, who are looking at exactly those issues. So I'm hoping over time you'll see that kind of change emerging.
Yeah. Thank you. Anything else? General questions about anything? No? I was going to ask you the football question as well. As a final
Go on,
one,
then. I've
got this one. Given the success story of Wales in sporting terms recently, I mean, very good success, is there a similar story, do you think, to be told about the OU and the OU in Wales in particular, compared, with the rest of the sector?
Well, yes. I think absolutely. I think we've got some great good news stories going on in the Open University and the Open University in Wales. In the Welsh context, as Rob mentioned in the video, we basically do the heavy lifting in terms of part-time provision in Wales. If we weren't doing it, there would just be pockets of provision in other universities who only do it as a sort of, it's not their core offer, and life-changing learning would be denied to thousands of students across Wales. So, that's excellent. In terms of widening access, the government gives Wales a widening access target, and every institution is meant to contribute to that. Only 2 institutions exceed that target in Wales. We are one of them. So again, it's only because of us and the University of South Wales, but mainly us, that that Wales is meeting its widening access targets. That's excellent. That's such a good news story. It's something to be really proud of.
Thank you.
I'll nail my colours to the mast and don't groan, but in my younger days I used to turn up and watch on the North Bank Arsenal because I was a local North London lad. So success was not really something that came hand in hand very much. But what did strike me, and coming back to Rob's video and the pointlessness of it, I think sometimes though as a spectator you do turn up, you've got that anxiety, you've got that aspiration, that hope, that ambition, that belief for your team, and albeit you're watching, but that strikes me as also being emotions and feelings that students who are embarking on study and a qualification with us will also sense and feel. So I think there is that kind of similarity around some of the analogy of watching sport and feeling all those things at a great level, and then also as a student those things you experience yourself. So yes, pointless in a sense, but equally there are some similarities for me, I think.
Oh, thank you.
We need to make sure that we don't get students thinking that they're up against the All Blacks, though, don't we?
Yes. Give up.
Believe.
As well.
Yeah, I think that it's something that we don't celebrate perhaps in the wider university, and it's up to us as the OU in Wales to make sure that people know about things that are going on in Wales. One of the things that strikes me is how other organisations are desperate to work with us. We have all Wales-wide reach, we have excellent ALs who create a unique relationship with their students. Our students, once they start, I had a student yesterday who really shouldn't have been doing a level 3 module until 2 years' time, but she thought, well, she'll do one now anyway, and she'll do another one when she gets to when she should be doing one, because she just loves doing OU study. So, our students, once they start and they get the bug, they really want to stay. So whatever all these changes that are coming our way, we've got to make it work, really, for us and for our students. But talking about these other institutions who want to work with us, we've got the Coleg Cymraeg Cenedlaethol, who, because of our Wales-wide reach, and they are the organisation responsible for promoting Welsh language education in higher education. So they're working very closely with us, I know, on Open Learn Cymru, as Hannah was mentioning earlier, and in our department in Health and Social Care, Social Work degree, we have a member of staff who's here somewhere, who's funded by the Coleg Cymraeg Cenedlaethol. Oh, there she is at the back. So, you know, we are moving ahead and moving forward, and I went to a conference a couple of years ago in, it was one in Turkey actually. I haven't been for about 5 years, but anyway, that's another story. But it was a few years ago, and we were talking about supporting Welsh-speaking students and how this was kind of linked. There are lots of similarities with teaching students who have additional language needs. And of course, everybody internationally gets this, because everywhere else in the world, people speak at least 2 languages. So they understood it and were lapping it up. Talk about the same kind of thing within the OU, and it's a bit more of a novelty, really. They're not quite sure, you know, how we manage this, or even whether we can manage this. But the fact that the Coleg Cymraeg Cenedlaethol are willing to fund us, to help us to do this, is a real achievement. And also, again, in our particular area, we've got the external regulator, the Care Council for Wales, who are very keen to get on board with us and are funding some courses for us this year, funding students to study with us because of our unique way of working. And these are students who wouldn't be able to, by and large, to access higher education in any other way. So I think we're very attractive to other organisations and other institutions, and it's something we should be celebrating more of and promoting within the wider institution. But of course, being Welsh, we're very modest and we're not very good at that. So we need to get over that one and get out there and sell ourselves.
Okay. Thank you very much, panel. And I hope you enjoyed that. And thank you for all your lovely questions and participation. Thank you. Well, please do find other people during the evening or afterwards if you want to discuss anything more.